Triumphant or disastrous? Awesome or fearsome? How you view the last few months depends on your perspective and increasingly your side of the aisle. This morning, a roundtable of our congressional representatives from both sides on health care reform and its fallout. Today is Sunday, April 4th, 2010, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. We've got a terrific program coming your way this morning, I think, on this Easter Sunday. Last year, as the debate over health care reform was intensifying, we managed to bring together 4 members of the congressional delegation from Southeast Michigan. Now, if you recall that conversation, it was a pretty good indicator that common ground had proven elusive, and any bill to come out seemed destined to be the work of one party. We'll skip ahead to this morning. The health care bill is law, and it came exclusively from Democrats. The dust-up over the bill since has been, well, it's actually felt quite a bit more than a dust-up. There is quite a bit of anger in the land. How do we move forward from here? Well, this morning, we again have 4 members of the Michigan congressional delegation with us. It's Dingell, Levin, McCotter, and Miller, all here for the full program at the roundtable on Flashpoint. A few days ago, President Obama pleaded with several reporters, hey, it's only been a week. True, but it seems like a perfect opportunity to talk with the Michigan leaders who voted for and against the landmark package. I'm delighted to have with me this morning 4 of Michigan's congressional representatives from the 15th District, John Dingell, the Dean of the U.S. House. From the 12th District, Sandra Levin, our first chance to congratulate you on becoming chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And over on the Republican side of the table from the 11th District, Congresswoman McCotter is back with us, and from the 10th District, Candice Miller. Thank you all very much. I'm thrilled to be able to pull this all together. Congressman Dingell, let me start with you. That was quite a moment for you at the White House as the president was signing in this bill that you had worked on for so long. But your thoughts on what we've watched happen in the now almost 2 weeks since, the kind of fallout, the very bitter reaction that some Americans have had to what was passed?
Well, I've seen some very good reaction on the part of my people, who are delighted that we are going to cover 32 million Americans, that we're going to eliminate insurance company abuses, that no longer will they be able to hold pre-existing conditions against you, no longer will they be able to cancel your insurance because you get sick. And we've seen some other things. My people are very pleased that there's going to be nearly universal coverage. 95% of our people are going to be covered. And as I explain it to my small business people, that they're going to get a tax break for participating in this program. They find that to be a very useful thing.
When you hear Congressman John Boehner use the word Armageddon for what he sees looming out there, you're obviously both not, well, you are both talking about the same bill, but seeing it very differently.
Well, I don't see any Armageddon coming. This is a law-abiding nation. We do what we should. And a real patriot is going to support the nation and try and make things the best he or she can for the country and for all of us. And
Congresswoman Miller, you obviously have a difference of opinion.
I do. I definitely do. And I would respectfully disagree with my colleagues across the aisle here. This particular bill was not really a democratic it was not a good exercise in democracy, let me put it that way, because it was entirely a debate.
Confused with democratic, yes, because it certainly was democratic.
It was 100%. It was really, the entire debate was amongst the Democrats. And there were a number of Democrats that in the end could not bring themselves to vote for it anyway. But the Republicans, unanimously voted against it, and there was no public consensus about this bill. I mean, a majority of Americans were opposed to it. In my estimation, what we saw was a twisted democracy, I guess you could call it. I just think it was very poorly done and was not explained well to the American people. Certainly did not have their buy-in, and I don't think that the bill will be long-term good for the country.
Congressman Levin, it brings us to one of those great philosophical questions about leadership, that Burkean question about when you see that the majority of Americans were against the package in the polls. What do you owe the people in your district? Representing their opinion or representing what you believe is your better judgment on the issues?
Well, you take into account the opinion, obviously, the feelings within your constituency. You also do your best to try to judge what's good for America. And these last days I've held roundtables, I've been out talking to people. Just quickly, what do they say? A 63-year-old woman today, she has diabetes, and now she has cancer. She can't get insurance because of a pre-existing condition. We need to change that. This bill changes it. A 22, 23-year-old person with leukemia, he can't get insurance. He's now unemployed. Now, through this bill, over time, people with pre-existing conditions will be able to get insurance. This is in the best of American traditions. Armageddon, I think they said the same thing about Social Security. It was socialism coming to America. They said the same about Medicare, and John Dingell was there, and many said that the sky was falling. No, what happened was that we spread the benefits, spread the opportunities to more and more Americans. That's what this bill does.
But the programs you mentioned are ones that we are struggling to find a way to pay for in this day and age.
Yeah, but nobody says repeal. No, actually, most of the Republicans said privatize Social Security, and Medicare, a form of repeal. But that isn't, I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't think Americans want repeal of coverage for pre-existing condition, of having children covered through their parents, of having help for small business cover people.
Congressman McCotter, you know, when you hear the biggest components of this bill is laid out here, the pre-existing conditions that you can't lose your coverage, on and on and on, I don't hear too many Republicans generally arguing against any of those components. Your biggest problem with this package was what?
Well, I think, as Candice said, it's not a Burkean approach. It's more like Rousseau. The legislator enforces his will upon the populace, whether they like it or not, to recreate their society. This was a radical redistribution of health care. The American people, after watching and hearing... A redistribution
of health care?
Of health care. This is what's happening in the country. How's it being redistributed? When you're taking 30-some million new people within the existing paradigm that you have for health care in this country, when you're funding it with $500 billion in cuts in Medicare to try to put them in other places, and you start to mandate on the American people whether they're going to have health insurance or not. This is a redistribution.
The idea that there's only so much to go around.
Also in the bill you have things, which actually was in the stimulus, the Federal Coordinating Council on Comparative Effectiveness Research, which now measures life years in terms of your cost to the government and what type of care you can get. The Independent Payments Advisory Board, which will tell Congress, we can vote it up or down, but they will make the recommendations as to what is paid for or is not paid for. So fundamentally, I think what we see is an approach to big government that the public did not want, the inability to forge a consensus even within the Democratic Party itself, because 30-some members voted with us against the bill. And instead of focusing on the things that are talked about that are in the bill that the public wants, what we don't hear about are the things such as the massive tax increases. These are the things that cause the opposition to the bill. And fundamentally, the principle that somehow your life has a cost to the government then has the power over you to try to control, it strikes me as something I can't support.
Congressman Dingell, no less than a liberal than Michael Moore said as the bill was passed, look, I wish I could force people to go see my movies. How in the world can we force, shouldn't you have a right in America to not have health care?
First of all, there's a lot of misstatements here. The bill is not going to cut Medicare. The only cuts that are going to take place are going to be a bunch of overpaid insurance companies are going to get less. I don't see anybody that's complaining about that. That's one of the falsehoods.
Well, shouldn't we be worried that the day after the package passed, the stock price of most of the leading healthcare insurers in the nation shot up? Didn't they see? Should I be happy that they saw something good in this?
I'm glad you noted that. Tends to rebut the statement that this is going to be terrible for the country or for the health insurance industry. Yeah, we're giving them 32 million Americans that have never had coverage before, and we're going to solve a lot of terrifying problems of people who are not able to get insurance, who are going to die of cancer. There's 18,000 people in this country that are going to die every year because they don't have health care. There's 45,000 of them that are going to go into bankruptcy because they don't have health care. This is not just a humanitarian problem, but it's also an economic problem. Our industries are uncompetitive. It costs $4 an hour less to make a car in Canada than it does in the United States. Every one of our competitors in the world marketplace has this to pay the cost of health care for their employees.
No doubt, but
we do it with our people.
But Congressman Levin, to the idea of independence from our government, can we really force people? I mean, shouldn't I have a right to not have health care if I don't want health care?
So let me say a word about that. In 93, 94, the Republicans had a plan. It was Bill Thomas a predecessor of mine chaired the Ways and Means Committee. It had an individual mandate in it. It isn't so revolutionary.
And Bob Dole.
No, essentially what you're saying is that everybody should participate, and those who can't afford will be helped, small business will be helped. And the result was, if you get everybody into the pool, you can take care of the people who have pre-existing conditions.
Certainly.
And also you can drive costs down by having more competition among insurance companies. People who cry socialism, why did the stocks of insurance companies go up? It went up because this is built on the present employer-based system. That's how it's built. It isn't a single-payer system. It's built on what we have. All it says is that everybody should be able to participate, and it should be an opportunity for every American to have health insurance.
Got to get to a break, but go ahead and jump in really quickly.
You know, I think what we saw here was an exercise in raw political power, and there's been some analogies that have been utilized, like what happened with Social Security and Medicare, and that those were passed and people do like them, of course, etc. But you know, those were passed with big majorities, huge amounts of bipartisan support. That is not what happened here. And in this case, if this bill was so great, why did it have to be written in secrecy? Why wasn't there transparency? Why was it necessary to literally bribe so many members of the Senate in order for that to happen? Why couldn't the people be involved? Why couldn't the minority be involved? All of these kinds of things.
Let me get to a quick break. Let me get to a quick break. I know just as everybody starts going, I got to run to a commercial break, but we will continue with this terribly important topic on Flashpoint on Local 4 in just a moment. Don't go away.
Now is absolutely the smartest time to buy a Toyota.
You know, I mean, it's great. You can't beat the deals right now.
This has got to be one of the best deals around.
This is the opportunity you've been waiting for. But time is running out to take advantage of these historic offers, including our best lease deals ever. $149 a month for a Corolla. Lease a Camry for just $169 a month. Or this Prius for just $199 a month.
That's the best deal you could ever get.
At Heinz, we believe it's important to know exactly where the tomatoes in your ketchup come from. That's why every tomato in every bottle of Heinz tomato ketchup has been grown from Heinz seeds. Heinz tomato ketchup. In better restaurants everywhere. Because we're grown, not made.
Check out this first ever mattress deal from Gardner White. Get a Serta Perfect Sleeper Queen set, a great deal at $9.99. And as a bonus, get a 32-inch Ultra Slim HD TV from Best Buy with nothing down and no interest for 15 months. Don't overpay. This is a Serta Eurotop Visco Foam set plus a 32-inch TV for just $9.99. All delivered free tomorrow. And find great TV deals with Simmons, Trump Home, and Restonic. Monday 10 to 9, only at Gardner White.
Tonight at 9, an all-new Celebrity Apprentice. Then at 11, she's the daughter of one of our Local 4 anchors, and her dreams were dashed.
It was probably the most traumatizing event in my life. It's a problem that strikes too many women.
But what happened after Kaylee's surgery is a dream come true.
And we're going to show you that part of her story.
Tonight, watch Celebrity Apprentice at 9, followed by Local 4 News at 11. Worth staying up for.
Welcome back, Flashpoint. Don't quite have a quorum of Southeast Michigan, the Southeast Michigan congressional delegation, but pretty darn close. John Dingell, Sandra Levin, Thaddeus McCotter, and Candice Miller, all representatives representing the greater Southeast Michigan area. Congressman Dingell, you wanted to jump in there in the segment.
The polls I've seen say 49% of Americans favor it and 40% oppose it. And when you get down to talking about what's in that bill, you find all of a sudden the numbers start going up. And my suggestion to my Republican colleagues, they've been talking about repealing this. Tell us what part of this you want to repeal. What is it you don't like? You don't like universal coverage? You don't like the fact that we're going to take care of pre-existing conditions, or the fact that they can cancel your insurance while you're riding into the amphitheater for surgery?
Well, let's ask that. Congressman McCotter, first off, how do you feel about these attorneys general, including the Attorney General in Michigan, who have joined in this effort to repeal the package?
Well, I think they've been entrusted with their responsibilities at the state level, and they're defending their state's interests against a bill they think are detrimental to it. So I think they're doing their job. In terms of what we want to do is we want to repeal and improve those parts which are detrimental. You can start with the $500 billion cuts to Medicare. You can talk with the employer mandates that go on to the companies that we've already seen talking about potentially dropping the retirees' health care that they already get from their employer due to this. I, as someone who ran against taxing employer-provided benefits, would like to repeal the 2018 tax on employer-provided benefits, ads of which I heard endlessly all of 2008 from the UAW and CAP, and to continue. What you have to look at is the totality of the bill. They're talking about some of the things they did. One of the things I think a new Republican Congress, or Congress, even with the Democratic majority that would agree, was not to continue funding the Federal Coordinating Council for Comparative Effectiveness Research to the tune of $1 billion a year, to restore the congressional ability to make their decisions on health care as opposed to kicking it to an independent advisory payments board.
All right, Congressman Levin, jump in.
Cuts in Medicare, it is such a gross distortion. Some of it comes from insurance companies that were given subsidies to provide policies.
They're being overpaid 14%.
And it's interesting. What this does is build on the present system and make sure that people with pre-existing conditions, that they're covered, to make sure that people who can't afford insurance get it. When I talk to people in the round table these last couple of days, people who lost their insurance, somebody said to me, look, I'm trying to stay healthy. This is a person who has a pre-existing condition, can't get insurance. I'm trying to stay healthy to get a job, so I can get a job, so I can get health insurance, so that I stay healthy. That's the circular condition that people face, and the reason this bill will, I think, stay, basically, is because in the best of American tradition, it begins to spread the wings of opportunity. We have 50 million people uninsured in this country. Only country like that. We have skyrocketing costs of health insurance. We've got to get this under control, and we are not cutting benefits for Medicare, period. We are not doing that.
There may be a risk here, some believe, that by the Republicans with their stance against this, especially in an election year. We look down the road here to November. We may get to that moment, and Americans are going to look around and go, you know, my life hasn't changed much. I don't see John Boehner's Armageddon. Are Republicans in danger of overplaying the traumatic portion of what they're predicting coming?
I don't think so. I think, as I say, and I again respectfully would disagree. The last poll I saw showed that the American people, almost 59%, were opposed to this. And actually, since the bill has passed, there's a greater majority now that are opposed than were before. So I do think there is a lot of consternation. I agree with Mr. McCotter as well that I think so many of these attorney generals who are suing because of the constitutionality of that are on the right track, quite frankly. I mean, how can we, as a federal government, mandate you to buy any product, first of all, health insurance, or we're going to sue you for it. I mean, not sue you, but fine you to make sure that you are in compliance. In fact, talking about the economics of this whole thing, what we have seen in the first 10 days of that is you have corporation after corporation who are taking huge write-downs right now because the bill does require them to do that during the month the bill was passed. So you have AT&T talking about $1 billion, Boeing, John Deere, Caterpillar, on and on and on.
Let's discuss why that's happening.
And the other thing that's happening, this is the one job creator with this bill because it will require about 17,000 new IRS agents to be hired to make sure that people are in compliance.
Pure mythology. The head of IRS came before a committee and was asked about this. Instead of talking substance, essentially you got scare tactics. There aren't going to be 17,000 IRS agents.
Who will insure it?
Well, it's
who's going to ensure compliance?
Who enforces our Internal Revenue Code?
The IRS.
Oh, so you want us to
now
not
enforce? Now you're going to have 33 million more people put on this, and who's going to ensure that?
It's going to be done exactly the same way that it is now. We don't need these new people, it has been said. And this is a glorious fiction, Candy, that you're coming forward with about these companies. The companies that are having to readjust have been getting a subsidy, a tax break, and a subsidy. and they're going to lose a little of that, and they're going to lose the ability to claim a tax break on a subsidy that they're getting from the government. They are cutting a fat hog 2 or 3 times, and they're going to lose one of those opportunities.
That should not be defended. Companies are getting a subsidy for prescription medicines, and then they're deducting that. They're getting a double dip, and we say that's not good policy. We end the double dip.
I got to get to a break.
You grab that as an argument instead of getting to the substance of the bill.
Congressman McCotter, you get the first chance as we come back. This is Flashpoint at Local 4. Don't go away.
The boardroom is back.
You think this is easy?
And it's business as usual.
I'm asking you for money. The money. Money talks.
Good thing it's all for charity.
Tell me if you ever seen a check for this amount. 100,000?
Oh my God.
For some, the battle is personal.
I'm a cancer survivor.
It won't be easy.
My son has autism, so I'm fighting for him.
But it'll be worth the fight.
I cannot tell you how much this means to me.
The Celebrity Apprentice, tonight, 9/8 Central on NBC.
Venus Williams doesn't let sweat and odor ruin her style. New Tide Plus Febreze Freshness Sport, the #1 sports detergent at putting away stains. And it eliminates odors, so your style is always fresh.
I smell victory.
If it works for Venus, imagine what it'll do for your family's clothes. Tide Plus Febreze Freshness Sport. Style is an option. Clean is not.
Today, the playoff race is on. Both the Red Wings and Flyers are fighting for their postseason lives. Can Detroit get past the Broad Street Bullies in Philly? The NHL Game of the Week. Today, only on NBC.
Diamonds, half carat to 2 carat, are $2.99 to $19.90. Thousands of diamonds, guaranteed the lowest price. The latest designer styles, guaranteed to appraise for double, set while you watch. Plus no interest for 6 months. By Factory Direct, the jewelry factory in Livonia.
Violent militant groups are on the rise all over our country, and Michigan is a hotbed of radical anti-government views. Remember, the Oklahoma City bombing had ties with a militia right here.
Now I'll show you something new they are doing that could make them more dangerous and more widespread than ever before.
Can they even be stopped? Guy Gordon has the investigation everyone will be talking about. Monday at 6:30, only on Local 4 News Morning.
Welcome back to Flashpoint. We are talking health care with 4 members of the Michigan Congressional Delegation. Congressman McCotter, I wanted to give you the first chance there as we came back.
Well, 2 things. First, on the subsidy, that was done under Medicare Part D, so that employers did not dump retirees that had employer-provided benefits into the government system.
And the
cost of that subsidy is actually less than having people put into the entirety of the government system. I think it's $233 versus $1,600 for the subsidy. Secondly, when you look at what other nations have done in terms of their health care universal insurance, even the Liberal Party of Canada says they have to cut Medicare or their health care spending by 7%, that is going out of control. Even places that have done this for quite some time, like Canada.
Why do you raise Canada when this is a system built on our present private insurance in addition to Medicare, Medicaid? Why do you raise the image of Canada?
Because the goal of universal coverage, this is not built on the existing system and maybe layered over the American people, but what you're doing by individual mandates on people, the mandates on employers and everyone else, is an expansion of the government's power and control over not only the employers, but yes, over the individuals. And the goal of reducing costs, which is always used by Canada to show how often it has made a difference in the cost of a car, was brought forward, not by me, but by the chairman.
First of all, we are only going to see to it that everybody has coverage. And the important thing here is that if a fellow's got insurance and he likes it, he can keep it. If a fellow's got, if an employer's got insurance and he likes it, he can keep it just the way it is. The insurance companies are the folks who are going to get a floor stuck under them. They're going to have to provide a standard level of, rather a minimum level of benefits to people. And a lot of the abuses for which many of the people at this table voted when we passed the Patients' Bill of Rights are going to be included in this legislation to stop the abuses that everybody complains about.
I don't have an ultra-liberal at this table to tell you how infuriated they are with this package, but they would say, yes, that's exactly what's wrong with this. We've left it in the hands of employers. We've left it in the hands of insurance companies. There's no public option here that we really haven't fundamentally, and you've talked about true universal care.
So let me
For years
say,
you didn't get there.
Okay, look, let me say a word about that. Look, you take progress in steps. What this does is to make sure that people have the chance to get insurance, and that you talk about an entity that's going to look at best practices and not stuff it down people's throats. It's going to spread the word as to best practice. Look, we have to have a more effective system of health care. We have to grab a hold of health care costs and
no
the
doubt,
benefit.
but for instance, one of the things that the Republicans said from the very beginning was, why can't we just allow insurers to compete across state lines? Why wasn't that a bone to throw?
They can do it now. Now, Kevin, Devin, let me tell you this. They want to compete across the state lines, but they want to compete without controls on their behavior that we have now in the hands of state regulatory agencies to protect people with regard to the behavior of the insurance companies and the costs that they charge.
This is
the creation of a massive race for the bottom.
That watching this, the most distressful thing for me has been that the American people have been disregarded in their thoughts and their wants have been disregarded. And the people have spoken out very, very clearly. They spoke out in August at the town halls, last August, very clearly. And I thought, certainly when you were listening to that there would be some impact. The Democrats went back in September, said it was, sort of a bad dream, started again. The people spoke out in the elections in New Jersey, in Virginia, in Massachusetts.
Too sophisticated to leave up to referendum ideology to go with public opinion?
I think what people were saying is there should be input of the public, certainly, right? They have redress of their government, and as well as that, there should be something from the Republicans, some input.
Okay, let me say a word
and you know
about
what?
that.
There was
Look,
not one Republican amendment allowed on the floor of the House.
Okay, let me say, look,
in this bill.
we marked up this bill in the Ways and Means Committee initially. It was an open procedure. It wasn't behind closed doors.
That's the same in the Commerce Committee.
And that's kind of an argument you use, which is just getting away from substance into product. Let me finish. We had an open markup. The Republicans had a chance to bring up their amendments. We voted on it. It was out in the open. Did we not listen to the people? The answer is we went back home. We heard the people. We heard people who can't get insurance because it's too costly. We heard people who can't get insurance because of pre-existing conditions. And what we said was, in this country, people ought to be able to have insurance, and they ought to be able to afford it. That's what this is all about.
Congressman McCotter, I got about 30 seconds left. How frustrated or concerned are you that this has been created such it's exposed how polarized we are?
Well, according to Rasmussen polls, 71% of the country thinks government is a special interest. I think this reinforces that. It undermines their confidence in representative institutions, and it further threatens their understanding that we are servants of the people, not the rulers.
Okay, I got to go. Thank you. This has been, I could go on for another hour. Thank you so much for being here, all four of you. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being here as well. Meet the Press is next. Have a great week. See you next time on Flashpoint. Happy Easter.